Today we're going to be covering the BRAHMINY Bounce Sniper. Whether you're a beginner player or a coming back player to the game, this gun will do the job and will definitely not disappoint. It is amazing for ad clear. In my personal opinion, I think this gun has the largest and best AoE clearing. Of course, it's nowhere close as the Boom Boom, but this weapon is extremely satisfying to use. Let's start with how the weapon works. If you right click on the gun, click on details and click X on a keyword, this gun utilizes bounce, and it bounces to hit a random enemy within 15-meter radius. Then bounce again. Each bounce deals damage equal to 40% of weapon damage. If no target is available, bounce to the environment or in air. If your gun is 2,574 damage, then your bounce damage will be 1,030, basically taking the 40% of your base damage that you have. The gun has 75% chance to trigger bounce on hit, so whenever you're shooting, and it can bounce anywhere. The gun's passive gives us additional 2 bounces when bouncing, so instead of 2 bounces when you trigger bounce, we see 4. We are wearing sharp blade pants, we actually get 8 bounces instead of 4. Now if you're a beginner player, you will want to get these sharp blade pants, as these ones will be the best for this gun. If you don't have Starchrome though, you can stick with hot dog shorts. It will give you 2 additional bounces, which will not be that bad, will be better than nothing. But once you have enough, just make sure to get the sharp blade pants. Hitting the environment can also trigger bounce. Now when you shoot the gun and hit the environment, sometimes you'll trigger bounce even if you don't hit the enemy. That damage will be decreased by 30%. And if you're hitting the player, well then it'll be even less. Lastly, the bounce weak spot priority is 100%. The base chance of this gun of hitting the weak spots is unknown. But let's say the enemy has head, torso, and arms and legs. That is 4 parts, which means the bounce has to prioritize 4 parts. That would be 25% for all of these parts. And if it's 25%, then imagine the base chance of hitting the weak spot will be 25%. That means if we added the 100% to the 25%, our chance to hit the weak spot with bounce would be 50%. Don't get lied to by the description, or don't think that it makes your bounce hit 100% to weak spots. That's not how it works. Anyways, again, we do not know the base chance of the weak spots hitting, so can't really do much here. Now for the deviations you want to use, of course use Lone Wolf, which what it will do if when the wolf attacks the mob, you will gain 43.2% weapon damage for 1 second to 2 seconds. Keep in mind is that if you're running with a team, the max amount you can get from Lone Wolf is 100%. So if you have more than 3 wolves, the 4th wolf will be completely useless and will provide no damage other than get the aggro. The 3rd wolf already has diminishing returns because if you sum up 43.2 3 times, you get a total of 129.6, which means the extra 29.6 is being thrown away. Instead of Lone Wolf, if you don't like it, you can use Zapcam, which you basically just summon it, it gets on your shoulder, and you keep scanning the enemy, and if you keep scanning, you just do more damage. That's pretty much it. Now for the food buffs, you want to run with mixed fried hot dog, although in the intro clips that I've shown you, the first 2 minutes, I was not using hot dog and I was using shellfish, but this is just a cheap option for a food buff. If you're really a brokey like me, that's what you can use. But again, 100% you want to use mixed fried hot dog with a level 5 chef, which will give you 27.6 grade 1's damage increase once you mark it with bingo. Simply, all you need to do is just mark the target with Willfire or bingo, and then you can just shoot. For the Cradle on Lunar server is what you want to have: anti-phase, tactical combo, deviant energy defense, Chaotic Thoughts, Deadly Combo, Bounce Rampage, March Strike, and Bounty Hunter. You can use this, or if you don't want to use this, then you can just replace it with Rapid Aid or Resilience for extra survivability. I like the damage though, so I stick with that. Now this Cradle perk right here, Chaotic Thoughts, the only way to activate this is whether by crafting food buffs with the Stardust Dish Shell Break Memetic perk. The Stardust Dish provides 2 special whim effects within 30 minutes of use, continuously recover HP when sanity is full, and you get a debuff as well of a fart gas when you roll, which makes you receive more damage for a couple seconds. This is the Stardust Dish Shell Break. It only appears on the last levels of 40, 45, and 50. If you want to see a full list of specialization list, it will be in my description. Now, of course, you can still get this Chaotic Thoughts Cradle perk activated by just having low sanity and by receiving a random whim, which will appear here as 1. Once you hover your mouse in inventory, you can see. I don't know if in mobile you need to click here, but the easier way to check it, click on gear, open your inventory, press C, and here, if you have the Cradle activated, every damage type bonus here will be higher by 10. So if you had 37.5 elites, and you can basically unequip the Chaotic Thoughts, and if you see that the other damage bonuses rise by 10, that means you have it active. You can craft Stardust Energy Drink, or you can craft Stardust Mushroom Soup for the Stardust Shell Break. But I mean, you don't really have to, because if you craft the hot dog and use it, it still gives you that 10% damage increase. Okay, so now which ammo should you use? For the clips, I've used purple tungsten ammo. This is the cheapest option, of course, but the best ammo to use would be the suppression ammo. You will do more damage against deviants and shielded deviants. It's more effective against super anomalies, and this basically just gives you 25% damage increase against gray ones, elites, normal enemies if you're fighting that type of enemy. So this ammo will be the best of the best. If you're doing Rosetta Silo though, suppression will not work and you will need to get penetration ammo. It will increase 25% damage against Rosettas, vultures, any type of humanoid mobs. Lastly, there is illusion ammo, and this would be the worst out of all the gold ammo. Of course, this ammo is better than the purple ammo, so you can use illusion ammo if you have lots of lunar whispers to waste instead of using tungsten purple ammo. But then again, out of the 3 golds, the suppression and penetration is better than illusion. Now let's move into the gear and what you're going to be using for the gun. This sheet will be available in my description for free. By the way, if you want to find 50 plus builds for PvE and PvP, it will be in my Patreon for just $4.99. You don't have to subscribe. It's exclusive content that is released on my YouTube channel earlier for the people who's my Patreon supporter. I am really grateful for those who support me on Patreon. Now let's go to the Weakspot build for beginners. This is just a simple build. The mods you want to have for the beginner's build is basically multi-bounce on the gun, precise strike on the helmet. You can actually use momentum up if you prefer the gun shooting faster, but precise strike will just do more Weakspot damage because precise strike can be triggered by bounce instead of you having to hit headshots. So that's why you can use this. Precision bounce for the mask mod, weapon amplifier for the gloves, any mod you like on the top piece, covered events for the shoes, and reload rampage on the bottom pieces. You want to use Bastel helmet? If you do use Bastel helmet, then I recommend to put quick comeback on the top piece for the mod. What quick comeback does is when you use a healing shot, your movement speed is increased by 20% for 2 seconds. It refills the mag from the inventory up to 100% as well. And since you do use that mod, well, your health will be healed, you will get full mag, and you will utilize the Bastel helmet, which is, it gives you 10% weapon damage when your HP is above 70%. Then we're going to be using 3 renegade pieces. That will just give you more weak spot damage. And Sharp Blade pants as the best key armor piece for the bounce. And Bastel shoes for the extra reload speed for the gun. For the calibration, you want to use 2 times weak spot and frugal style calibration. The way you obtain frugal is you kill super anomalies, which are found in dungeons, silos, events, and yeah, mostly high risk events like so. I unfortunately forgot which super anomaly drops this, maybe Void, but yeah. For the drink buff, you can use iced tea for faster rolling speed or stick with the mushroom soup if you use air leap. Hot dog again for the food buff and golden wool for the mask. Now let's get into the juicier part, and I'm also going to explain why we're choosing these mods instead of any other. Starting with the gun mod, we have multi-bounce, By the way, if you're curious where to find these mods, the link will be in the description as well, full mod list, and this sheet will be provided in the description as well. So multi-bounce, the more bounces, the higher the damage, up to 45%, 7.5% per bounce. By default, the gun has 2 bounces, which is 15% bounce damage, and the weapon's passive gives us another 2 bounces, which gives us 30% bounce damage total. Multi-bounce will give us the highest damage here. Bounce Rampage here, it says the more selectable targets bounce has, the higher bounce damage, up to 45%. Basically, this gun has no selectable targets. Well, it can only bounce can only select one target because it bounces to one target and then it bounces to another. It doesn't bounce to 2 targets. So you would be getting only 50% damage increase from this mod. As you can see, I'm wearing the weapon right now. The mod that we have is Bounce Rampage. And if we had 3 targets, we would be having 45% bounce damage bonus. But now we only have 15%. Well, that's because bounce can only target 1 target at a time with this gun. This mod is meant for the Kumavink. Boomerang Bullet mod. Each time bounce deals damage, its trigger chance plus 2% based on the weapon's trigger chance, lasting 5 seconds and stacking up to 10 times. This mod is completely for the Squidward LMG, so it will do nothing for BRAHMINY. It will do nothing for BRAHMINY and most likely nothing for Kumavink too. So precise strike on the helmet, again, this gives you the most damage, but the gun shoots very slow. Again, I still prefer momentum up. It's all personal preference. As you get to shoot gun, you get to trigger bounces faster. Another option you can go with is the Weapon Symphony mod. After switching weapons, your fire rate will be up till 10% and weapon damage will be 25%. This effect is decreasing by 10% every second, up till maximum decrease of 60%. So if it decreases by 60% from 10%, you will permanently have fire rate of 4% increase all the time, and you will have 10% weapon damage at all times. And if you swap the weapon again, it will go back to 10% fire rate and 25% weapon damage, all again until it decreases till 60%, which will be 4% and 10%. So this could be a mod you could use as well instead of momentum up if you have really great stats on it. Precision bounce on the mask, because if you wear sharp blade pants, then you will need to trigger only 3 times bounce in order to activate this mod's passive. And the next bullet's bounce damage will be 125%. But if you don't wear sharp blade pants and you wear hot dog shorts, then you will need to trigger bounce 6 times, which means not really that worth it. Just stick with break bounce if you decide to use hot dog shorts. But if you use sharp blade pants, stick to precision bounce. Now, since it's a weak spot build, of course, go with weapon amplifier. On the top piece, you could be running a ardent shield. So what this will do is that whenever your shield breaks, and if the damage is so high, it will not hurt your HP and just break the shield instead. Here, if we check, it says while the shield is active, you gain 50% damage reduction. When the shield exceeds 1000 single units of damage, it will not penetrate the shield. It's up to you what mod you use here. For the shoes, you want to run Rush Hour because, again, it's a high-risk build. It's a low HP build, so this will give us 36% weapon damage. Even if you don't have a good Rush Hour, because Covered Advance will give us only 20%, and Covered Advance should be used only for builds that don't utilize low HP builds. Lastly, Reload Rampage for the bottom pieces. There's nothing better we could use. You could be using Unstoppable, but it gives you only weak spot damage. It gives you only 10% when it's more than 20 meters. And you get additional more weak spot damage if you're further away. Reload Rampage refills your ammo, which means you will basically shoot forever if you keep killing enemies, which you most likely will. And it gives you 10% weapon damage as you kill the enemy. So 2 birds, 1 stone, man. Stick with Reload Rampage. Now you might be wondering, should we use 3 strikes? Well, this is only giving you 50% weak spot damage for the first 3 bullets you fire. That's all you get. And if you use Ruthless Reaper, it will not work. You have to reload the gun manually for this 3 strikes to work again. And what about Bullet Siphon? Well, this is not an SMG or an LMG, so Bullet Siphon will give you only 5% weapon damage. You will get only 4% additional once you hit 4 bullets on the gun. So once you have 4 bullets left in the mag, you'll have a total of 9% weapon damage increase. Reload Rampage is the winner. For the armor pieces you want to use for this high-risk build, 3 Treacherous pieces, 2 Renegade, and Sharp Blade Pants. Instead of Renegade, you could be replacing, let's say, do you want more survivability? Then stick with 4 Treacherous and 1 Heavy Duty, or Lone Wolf and 1 Renegade for the more mag and faster reload. But Heavy Duty, if you have that, that means you'll survive even more, because your shield from 4 treacherous pieces will be based off your max HP. The more HP you have, the higher your shield will be. So up to you what you want. Now if you want max damage, just stick with 3 treacherous and 2 renegade. Below you can click on gear presets, which is here, and it shows you all the presets for this build. Well, lastly, again, calibration is frugal, 2 times weak spot, same food buffs and golden wool on the mask. Now, you might be wondering which is better, weak spot or crit. It's personal preference. For bossing, you will want weak spot because it has better damage when you shoot for long. But when it comes to crit, it's kind of better to just clearing small mobs pretty much. For bossing, you just stick with weak spot and stick to crit build just for small mobs and elites. Since we're still at the weak spot build, you can click for details here, click here. Here it shows every single multiplier for the gun. And on the right side, you can see what substats to prioritize for the gun. So let's get into it first. If you do decide to stick with weak spot build, even for small mobs, that's totally fine. It will do almost the same as the crit build. Now, I recommend making presets. What are presets? You basically open your inventory, click gear, click H, and here you have presets. I have a normal preset, which on every mod here, I put elites, crit damage, weapon damage, and normal enemies. As you can see, crit damage, elites, normals, and weapon damage. Every single one of them has this. Well, not every single one of them, but... And then another preset you make is for bossing, which we have grade 1's damage, crit damage, and weapon damage. As you can see, grade 1 6%, grade 1 6%, grade 1 6%. The idea is to use that preset for small mobs. Once you get to the boss room, swap to the bossing preset. This will make you do way more damage than normally using one preset. Especially in nightmares, everything will get a little bit tankier, so you'll struggle if you don't have the substats. Now you want to focus on first elites. Elites will be super tanky if you don't have elite substat on your mod. Normal enemies, it kind of matters as well to clear the small mobs in the nightmare. You don't really need this, but it just helps for PvE. Weak spot should be the last substat to prioritize, as you already have so much weak spot from your mods. Your weak spot is 254 if you have maxed 9% on every substat, 7 mods, but if you remove them, you only have 191, which is still quite a lot. So prioritize elites first, second prioritize normal enemies, weak spot prioritize third, and weapon damage prioritize last. The reason, again, why we prioritize weapon damage last is because, well, we have already a lot of it from just wearing the armor and the mods. So the substats do help in the damage, but the most damage comes from elites and normal enemies. If you guys are not sure what elites and normal enemies do or which mobs it counts for, I've made a video explaining damage types, which you can check out right here. This is the video that it's called. So then the preset for bossing, you want to focus on gray ones, elites, weak spot damage, and weapon damage. You can see here for bossing only, for the max damage if you want to do, then you would focus on weapon damage, gray ones, and weak spot. And the fourth substat is up to you, either max HP, reload speed, elites, normal enemies, all up to you. The best one I think would be just elites because they are way tankier than normal enemies. Normal enemies don't really need that much damage to be killed. You can also go with this one. Weak spot damage, weapon damage, gray ones, and elite enemies. These two, it's all preference what you want to kill faster, the boss or the boss and elites. Now for the crit build, I'm using momentum up for the helmet, even though for the weak spot build you can still use it. Precision bounce on the mask, crit boost on the gloves. Now the reason why we're using crit boost and not crit amplifiers because we already get so much crit damage from the top piece and helmet piece because it's lunar suffix right here. So you will want to have 5 violent and 2 lunar suffix. Nothing else changes really, just the crit boost on the gloves and the momentum up on the helmet. And that's pretty much it. For the armor pieces for the crit build, you want to stick with 3 treacherous and 2 lone wolf. Or for the safer approach, stick with 4 treacherous and 1 heavy duty. Or lone wolf and renegade for more mag or reload speed. Again, you can read here what it does. More damage, less survivability, or less damage, more survivability. You can always click on the bottom here to see the stats of the gun. These are the min-max stats you can possibly get in the game. You cannot have higher unless you use a trick like break ice cubes and so on and so on. I did not break any ice cubes though for the intro clips where I killed the bosses. So it's just pure shooting without basically any buffs. Okay, now for the substats for the crit build. you focus normal enemies, elites, crit damage, weapon damage, and for the bossing preset, gray ones, elites, crit damage, and weapon damage. The same thing applies just like in the weak spot build, except instead of weak spot, you just want to have crit damage. Again, the most important will be the first, these two. Well, that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. If you're not in my Discord, make sure to do so and join it. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace out.